Eagles up against the French Barbarians, folks. This is the final game that I've watched. I think it was the first one actually played this weekend. It was actually a Friday in the States. But yeah, 26-21 in preparation for their Rugby World Cup qualifying matches up against Chile. It's a decent win for the US boys. Like I mentioned, 26-21. They very much kind of played this one like a test match. They didn't really play it like a Barbars match. By that I mean, you can see they took their shots at goal. They had a droppy and a couple of tries. The Barbars scored 3 tries of their own. But yeah, we'll go through some key events. I don't have any stats. Unfortunately, there was no stats provided for this game. But yeah, some general thoughts. And you guys can let me know your thoughts if you've seen it. It was on Flow Rugby in the States, along with all the other games this weekend, apart from the Pacific Nations Cup. So you guys in the States, man, Flow Rugby, down in the description. They've had quite the package of games. France and Japan wasn't even on here in New Zealand, but Flo had it, so pretty thankful for that. But anyway, Barbars and the Eagles. Interestingly, the Barbars had a fair bit of the ball early, but the execution wasn't quite there, and you maybe expect that when it's a Barbars side, and you know these guys have only kind of come together pretty late in the piece, and the US guys were able to get themselves a penalty when Haas got shoved by the Barbars 9. But MacGinty, when opting for 3, ended up kicking the thing dead. So execution was maybe a little bit lacking on both sides early on. On 14 minutes, Haas hit the drop goal. And interestingly, the commentators absolutely predicted that one bang on the money. I forget which commentator it was, but we've seen Haas do that against Canada. When Canada had a goal line dropout, they dropped it out and he was in the midfield and he just, I don't want to, what word to use, just hit a massive strike straight back at them. And he did exactly the same thing here. So Chile will be well aware of what that guy can do. If you're going to do goal line dropouts, you better hit him to the sides, because that guy, if he's anywhere near the mid, will just hit it straight back at you. So 3 points to 0. Pifeleti had to hold the Barbars up not long later. So I think territorially, I didn't have any stats, but I would say the Barbars certainly had the dominant period early on. And eventually the first try did come to Aguilon on 23 minutes. Poirot with a big carry, all from a lost US line-out, to be honest. And if there's one thing that is a grave concern for the Eagles heading into the Rugby World Cup qualifying matches, is their line-out. Like, pretty bad. If you guys followed Super Rugby this year, you'll know that my Blues did very well all season, but guess which game? Their line-out went really poorly and they lost quite badly. That was the final against the Crusaders. The line-out was shocking. Somehow the Eagles, despite their poor line-out, managed to get a win, which I guess, you know, congratulations to them. But yeah, the line-out's going to have to be better. It directly cost them points there. So, yeah, 7 points to 3. Although they were able to hit back with a try not long later through Christian Dyer. He's looked good in the MLR all season in the midfield. He's on the wing in this game, but yeah, he did really well, didn't he? That one was a pretty sweet one. It was a scrum to Haas, pops a little inside ball to Dyer, who just comes steaming through onto it. So good hit back, puts the US guys back in front, and one of the props for the Barbars that had to go off because he'd taken a knock to the head when he tried to tackle someone. Got his head in the wrong spot and hit into a hip, so not ideal. But yeah, good for the US to be in front. The crowd's kind of getting behind them. Their defense holds out pretty well. But MacGinty makes another error when he drops it out on the full from a 22 dropout. So yeah, I forget how much rugby he played at the end of the season for Sale. So maybe he's just a little bit rusty, as maybe a few guys with their combinations. But yeah, didn't make it that easy on themselves with that kind of error. But before before halftime, the Eagles did manage to get one more try. That one was through Ainu'u, a bunch of big physical carries, especially that man Lopeti. He's a very hard man to bring down. He's only pretty inexperienced in terms of his MLR and rugby career generally, but he looked the business. And yeah, so the Eagles take a decent 17 points to 7 lead in at halftime. But they are certainly made to do a lot of defending. You can see they don't score any tries in the second half. And it's an interesting call for them to keep going for the threes when they do. They get one from a maul early on in the second half. That one makes it 20 points to 7. The commentary team were having a little bit of a debate as to whether they should be going for these threes because there've been a bit of handbags. One of the commentators was saying, you don't want to get any red cards if these guys are getting into a scrap. But the other one was kind of saying these guys need more line-out practice and whatnot. And I know the win will certainly be mentally of great value because there's a lot of big names in that Barbar side. But I do think, does MacGinty really need that much kicking practice? I'm not sure. I feel like their attack maybe could have used a few more runs. The line-out certainly could have used, a few more opposed attempts. Doing it in training is not quite the same as doing it when you've got actual opposition. So, yeah, they extended their lead to 23-7. But then the comeback started. Four Suns went really close for the Barbars. And Haas puts a try-saving tackle in, but he doesn't release. So he ends up getting yellow carded. And then from the resulting scrum, the Barbars get a penalty try. So it's back to being right game on. It's a free 7 points, 23-14. So it does go to 14 when Sazi gets yellow carded because too many penalties from the Barbars boys. But 71 minutes, Lagarde gets a try. Picamoles, that veteran, goes through a weak gap, draws his man, gets the pass away. Kind of typical stuff, what you've been seeing him do for, more than a decade. And it's 23-21. Suddenly it looks like the momentum's all with the Barbars. They're going to run away with this if they can get in front. But the US get one more penalty. Makes it 26-21. They are made to defend for a ridiculous amount of time at the end, the US boys. And that, I think, will be very good for them in the prep for the Chile game. Like having genuine do-or-die defending. Although Taufete'e looks to get injured, which is a big loss if he's taken more than just a minor knock. But they went like plus 85 minutes before eventually the Barbars guys knocked it on. So, yeah, like I said, no stats, but thoughts for the US guys is definitely that it's a morale-boosting win. There's nothing like getting a win, so that'll give them a little bit of confidence. The line-out, as I mentioned, needs a lot of work. The scrum, as the game went on, seemed to have a few more struggles. So, yeah, and the game's definitely going to do them good just in terms of that combination. This was a much-needed game, right? Like, there will be a bunch of stuff that Gary Gold will have seen from this game in terms of the combinations and, as I mentioned, the set plays, which will need immediate remedying. So you'd rather find out now than in Game 1 against Chile. So, yeah, good win for the US boys. Good to see some of the Barbars boys out there, Trinh-Duc and Picamoles and a bunch of the other guys as well. So, yeah, happy days. We will see what happens in the qualifying series with Chile. Remembering that a lot of the guys from Chile play in that same team in the SLAR. So they will have the cohesion edge over the US boys, which is really one of the difficult things about their team is not only these guys coming from over the world, but all different MLR teams as well. So we'll see how these guys go. But a win is a win. They played it like a test and they managed to get the result. We'll see if they're able to do it against Chile. And as I said, good on the Barbars for giving these guys a game. Decent wee crowd down there in Houston. So happy times. Good to see a bit of rugby. Take care, guys. That's the end of my rugby weekend. I'm going to go see my parents and have dinner. I've been watching rugby since last night, yesterday afternoon, and we're finished, and it's about 24 hours later. Although I did have a sleep in between. Take care of yourselves, folks. I'll talk to you again soon.